Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Near Memo, episode 102, amazingly. And as always, David, Mike, and Greg are here to talk about local search SEO and relevant other things that we think about. But this is a all local search, local SEO edition. We got tired of talking about ChatGPT for a week. I'm sure we'll come back to it.
It's just a fad, though, Greg. There's no reason to cover it anymore.
Yeah, it's the only thing that most people can talk about these days. I'm a little burned out on it right now, even though there's a lot still to say. But this week we're talking tactics and local SEO stuff. So I'm going to lead off with something that Joy Hawkins and Sterlingsky discovered this week, or maybe it was last year, but they wrote it up this week on their blog, and I mentioned it in Wednesday's newsletter, that adding services to your Google Business profile from a predetermined menu had a dramatic impact on ranking. So what Sterlingsky did was in 2019, they looked at these predefined services. There's two categories of services: predefined services, which is just a menu of services that Google has provided by business category, and then custom services, which are sort of a text box, if you will, free form, where you can add your own custom services, erotic cakes or whatever. That was just top of mind for some reason. I have no idea why. There are no erotic cakes around me. But anyway, moving on. So in 2019, they looked at this question. There was no ranking impact. Apparently, late 2022, they looked again at these predefined services, and they're currently examining custom services. But the predefined services test showed a dramatic change from the absence of those services to improved rankings when they had selected services. There was no word on the number, whether the number of services in the category had an impact. So in other words, if you selected 1, 2, 10, did that impact rankings? That the case study, as far as I was able to tell, was silent on that. But was really striking was, they were moving. I don't have the graphic in front of me, but they were moving from position like 6, 7, 8, whatever, to position 1, basically in most of these cases. Any other color on the case study itself before we talk about why and what the implications are?
Just curious about, we had this in the green room, is how Google actually generates these, but that wasn't in the case study.
Right. So we were talking before we started recording about how is Google doing this, why is Google doing this, and what's going on. And we're surmising that it's a mix of data that Google has about the category and the associated services, and probably some search query volume, what people are actually looking for in the particular category. There's probably some hybrid interaction going on.
And it could be coming from user input. A lot of times Google will ask what services
they offer.
They offer either right. as a survey, or sometimes in reviews, Google will ask whether they were given a certain service or not. So
they use
other possible sources for it.
I haven't done Google local guide stuff in a long time, but they used to give you these they were kind of I don't know the correct terminology. It was a sort of a multiple choice kind of thing. Do they have this? Do they have this at this business? And so they were presenting these kinds of structured data points to users who could then say, yes, this is here. No, this is here. Does it have, disabled parking, so on and so forth, whatever it is, or accessible features is there a hot tub? Is there this? So all of those things are kind of gathered from some data in the real world plus queries. But the interesting thing is that Google is rewarding people that are reflecting back to it the data that it already has on some level, this menu of services. Mike, you had some other thoughts on this.
My thoughts on it is that for a service business, the menu of services is the granular detail that Google is diving into. Last year we reported on products helping rank, and products are in a product-driven business are similar to services in a service-driven business. In the fall, Google announced that you would be able to search on
menu
items near me, and they rolled that out in November. And so each of these are very similar. They reflect Google's drive towards more granular understanding of the entity in the knowledge graph. And in each category, it reflects what they need to know about those businesses to surface the results to searchers. So it's a dialectic between the searcher learning to search for these granular things and Google now knowing them and delivering them. Now, interestingly, on the food one the other day, for whatever reason, I was looking in Helsinki to see whether the menu items were available in Helsinki, search for these items near me in Helsinki, and they're not yet. And my theory is that Google doesn't have enough granular data in Helsinki to deliver that result. So I think this is a dynamic project where as they get the more detail, they then start changing and servicing the results.
Are you going to Finland anytime soon, Mike?
Well, I am consulting with a company in Finland, and I just wanted a relevant local example. So I looked up whatever they call green pea soup, and I can't remember the name of it, but
crackers and smoked fish is the relevant query.
Well, there was a name. Actually, it's called gravlax in Helsinki. So,
yeah.
But Mike, how much of this do you think is purely a lack of investment in translating services that they've assigned in American English to a relatively long tail language like Finnish?
I don't. That's a good question. It could be. I mean, I didn't do it. I didn't look in more common languages like
Like I'm wondering if there are services available in Spain on Google Business Profiles at all, or and if they are, then it speaks to Google sort of has this data set already. They just haven't gotten to all of these languages with only a few.
Well, you could use machine translation to create a preliminary data set and then use local speakers to refine it.
Yes, you certainly could. And my question would be, does Google have that level of investment in their Google Business Profile product at all at this point? So
unclear. But the takeaway obviously is that people should be doing this immediately, right? This becomes another
Yes.
ranking factor. They should. I mean, this goes back to the sort of zoom out advice: fully build out and populate your GBP. And add everything that you can in there, and then Google is going to reward you. The more data, the more information that you have. Generally speaking, products, services, etc.
Although, as Joy has pointed out, there are certain attributes that affect ranking and others that don't. For example, business name and category affect ranking because they affect the relevance to a query, and this falls in that category, right? This more granular detail falls into the relevance. It's not a prominence issue. It's not like it's going to make, and if everybody has it, you're going to, then be judged on prominence or proximity. But if nobody has it, you're an early adopter. Now, Google is auto-applying these, and what a business needs to do is go in and double check that what Google gave you are the right ones, so that you show on queries that are relevant to your business.
Exactly.
Because that's what they should be doing now, is checking, see if they have them. If they don't, see if Google makes them available. If they do make them available, add them. Right.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see if the custom services has an equivalent effect. Yeah. I would hypothesize that it will not, but we'll see. We'll see when Joy comes out.
Google doesn't trust business input particularly.
Yeah.
So
thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.